Tales from the wild. Stories from the heart. A journey into the mind and soul of fired-up business professionals where they share their vision for the future. And hear from a different non-profit organization every month as they create awareness of their goals and their needs. Dive into a world of untamed passion as we join our host, Shireen for this month's episode of Friends from Wild Places.
All right, welcome, Shireen here. I am your virtual boutique bookkeeper and QuickBooks advisor. Are you running a service-based business? Imagine having more time to focus on what you love while boosting your profits. Let Shireen's Bookkeeping Services be your trusted partner. Outsourcing your bookkeeping isn't just a cost, it's an investment that pays off. With our monthly meetings, we create visibility into your finances, ensuring you're always in control. Plus, our consistent client communication builds credibility, making your business shine. Looking for business owners with bookkeeping issues to have a free consultation with me? That's right, a free consultation with me. Unlock your business's potential with Shireen's Bookkeeping Services. If you want to know more, go check me out at www.shireensbookkeeping.com and allow me to keep your books clean so you don't have to. Welcome back. You are listening to Friends from Wild Places with myself, Shireen, your host, and with my beautiful co-host, Tanya. Hi, Tanya. How you doing?
Hello, Shireen. Wow, it's been quite the summer so far here in outside Miami. Super hot weather, super fun things going on. Just yeah, it's amazing, and I'm super excited for our amazing guest this morning. So we have Dr. Phil Bulone joining us, and I've known Dr. Phil for, I don't know, Dr. Phil, how many years now? Quite maybe
Yeah, I
20.
think going on like over 15.
15 years, long time. So super excited for our guest. How are things for you, Shireen, in South Africa? How's the weather? I know it's winter for you there, correct? You're opposite of
Right.
us.
Yeah, and this area that I'm in is actually having a colder winter than usual. So, but not a proper winter. See, for me, I love winter. It's my favorite time of the year. October, November is my favorite time in the US, but simply just because of the chill, the fireplaces, the warmth, the comfy cozies, the blankets, and all that. And this is not something that you haven't heard from me before. But this area, the weather doesn't get too cold, but it definitely, the temperature is lower, which I'm always excited about. So far it's not the rainy season here. So, but we had quite a bit of a storm last night, which was quite unusual. But Tanya, won't you mind telling the listeners a little bit about our extra content for the subscribers? Yeah.
Sure. So at Friends from Wild Places podcast, we are streamlined on all different platforms, and we have monthly guests that we highlight their work, what their mission is and vision. In addition to that, for $5 a month, you can actually get raw, unedited, kind of dive deeping into subjects that maybe we don't want to just air publicly. So if there's any topic that you are interested, want to hear more, anything, it can be imposter syndrome, anxiety, anything to do with not feeling good enough, not feeling strong enough, not feeling smart enough. That's what we're here to dive into, these deep subjects. So for our subscription, paid subscription, $5 a month, and we'll be happy to have you on board. And if you haven't shared your podcast with your friends, please do so. We are looking to increase our subscriber list, so be happy for more subscribers. Back to you, Shireen.
Yes, thank you, Tanya. Yeah, it's only $5, and really the subscription is just the support. We need your support to continue doing this. We really appreciate you listening. This is just a step a little bit further, and we are looking at sponsorship. So we are doing our best from our side to do what we enjoy doing, and that's to put this content out for all of our business owners and entrepreneurs out there. If you're looking for more content, last month we were chatting to a lady named Angeline. So she's a consultant. So if you want to go and check that out, please go ahead and look for that. But yes, let's get into it. So I'd love to introduce a little bit more formally and officially Phil. Phil is a licensed mental health counselor and board certified art therapist and works primarily with the suicide bereaved. He works in community mental health as the director of the Los LOSS team, which means Local Outreach to Suicide Survivors with Mental Health America of Southeast Florida. So, Phil, welcome. It's so good to have you on the show with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good to be here.
Yeah, so I'm sure I've mentioned this to you, Phil, but I know our listeners know this about myself and Tanya. We do enjoy keeping up with all the true crimes that are current
Mhm.
and ongoing trials. Right now, there's actually quite an interesting one and also a very heartbreaking one that's going on. He's still on the run. He hasn't been caught yet. I'm not sure if they're gonna to be. This is my personal opinion. I'm not sure if they're gonna actually find him alive. I
Mhm.
don't know why I feel like he might do something to himself, but that's just my opinion. So if you don't know what I'm talking about Travis Decker. So by the time you hear this, he might have been found or he might not have, but at this point in time, he's still on the run. I think my biggest question that I want to ask Phil and Tanya is, do you think the veteran system played a part in the death of these beautiful little girls by failing to help Travis Decker with his mental health when he asked for it? So, listeners, a little bit more information on the case if you don't know. Key details is that the victims are his three young daughters. Peyton was 9, Evelyn was 8, and Olivia was only 5. The girls were found with plastic bags over their heads and their wrists zip tied, with authorities determining their cause of death was unfortunately suffocation. The location the bodies were found and Decker's abandoned truck was found in a remote campsite and I'm going to butcher this name, so help me here. It's Okanogan We Wenatchee National Forest. Oh, can someone help me there? Tanya, Phil, am I pronouncing that right?
I
Oh,
don't know.
Your guess is as good as
Yeah.
ours. We have
oh,
a lot of Indian names around here. We can't pronounce either.
Whereabouts is that? Like in the U.S.?
it's in Washington, so it's near
Washington. Okay, so-
Leavenworth in
okay.
Washington. Um, but yeah, I'm sorry if I'm getting it wrong. It's Okanogan Wenatchee National Forest. But yes, Leavenworth, Washington was the location. Suspect, as you guys can guess, it's Travis Decker, who's an Army veteran and is accused of the murders and is currently at large. Investigation is obviously the authorities are conducting a manhunt for Decker, who they consider dangerous and very well versed in the wilderness survival. So we'll see. But a little bit more about the background of Decker. Decker's ex-wife has previously expressed concern about his mental instability, and he was reportedly undergoing a disciplinary discharge from the Washington National Guard. So another thing that his ex-wife has also mentioned is she's actually holding the VA authorities responsible because she actually feels that they have failed her children by not helping Travis with his mental struggles when it arose. So that brings me back to the original question is, do you think, Phil and Tanya, do you think the veteran system played a part in the death of these little girls by failing to help Travis Decker with his mental health when asked? Phil, do you want to just fill in?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, this the mental health is so complicated, and the system is so complicated. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's what a tragic and sad story. Um, there's so many different levels of care. For me, it's hard to kind of like pinpoint where maybe, it sort of went awry. Because the whole process really is very complicated and sort of convoluted, in my opinion. So I have a lot of, empathy for the family and for the children. And it's hard to say whether the VA, played such a final sort of role in it, because a lot of it really too is up to the person to, get the help that they need, stay on their meds, you know, um, and get those different levels of care that really are needed. So many times we think that there's such a quick fix, or, there's a formula to all of this. And interestingly enough, I feel like when you were talking about it, there's some parallels to suicide in a sense, because, suicide really is uh, a mental health disease. So, um, it's just so complicated, and we want to blame or place responsibility on someone else for something, and
Hmm.
that's a really tough thing. So, in the end, he really did do it. So, supposedly, or I mean, if he took
Yeah.
that action, then he did that. So it's hard to point fingers to the VA, in my opinion, although it is all complicated.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tanya, what about yourself?
So yeah, I mean, I'm not an authority on this subject. If just for my personal opinion, I think the mental illness component is so multi-layered. Like Dr. Phil mentioned, it's multifaceted. So when we sit here as a society and just point one finger at one thing or one organization or one institution, I think, I mean, everybody could sit here and say, well, childhood had a play and your upbringing and where you were raised and what you did and how you were treated and mental instability, biological. So, did everything play a role in this action? You could actually say probably yes, everything did. But to sit here and slander, the veterans, or to say that it was their fault, that's not a fair, in my opinion. I mean, I think it's the Veterans Administration in the United States is, as Dr. Phil mentioned, very complicated, very layered. There's many veterans that, need support that don't choose support, even though they're a veteran. There's others that, do ask, but it's so, in my opinion, like layered and multifaceted. So I think everything plays a role, right? Everything. But at the end of the day, I'm going to agree with Dr. Phil. It's like, a person's actions is the person's actions.
Mhm. Mm. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you both more than that. You ultimately it was his decision. Whatever led, whatever event led to that decision that he made, it still was his decision at the end of the day. And no matter how much we point fingers, it really doesn't help. It is what it is.
Mhm.
It's happened. Those poor little girls, the family that's left behind, you know, it's a shame that it happened, but these things do happen. And it is there. We can only control ourselves. So I guess, whatever party you are that is involved somehow in the situation, all I would say is look good inwards and try and figure out how each party can figure out what to do to better themselves to try and avoid these kind of situations at the end of the day. But yeah, I think instead of pointing fingers, I think let's just look at ourselves, and it's a very sad thing. It's happened. It was his decision at the end of the day. But we can't control everyone else's actions, but only our own. So we'll see. He's on the run. I've told you that I have a suspicion that I don't think that he's going to be found alive, but
Mm.
that is my suspicion. And nevertheless, uh, let's move on. Phil, I'd love you just to start by just telling the listeners a little bit about who you are and your background.
Yeah. So, feel like I have like 9 lives to be honest. Um, well, I'm originally from New York area, and then I have moved to South Florida, so that's how I kind of know Tanya. And having said that, I feel like I've come full circle in sort of like my academic and career life over the past decades. So yeah, so I had received a bachelor's degree in psychology, and then I went on the study abroad program, which I was so proud of. I paid for it by myself, and I'm Italian American, so I went to Italy, and it was a big deal for me. And while there, though, what really sort of touched my heart was, like architecture and design and sort of creative side of things, which has always been a part of me as forever as I could remember. So after I got my bachelor's in psychology, I went the design route, and I got a master's degree in interior design. I tried out architecture for a while, but I knew that wasn't really it because I really wanted to work on projects that kind of really helped provide sort of deep meaning and experiences for people. And I was really interested in how people were affected by like spaces and their environment. So that's kind of took me that route. But I always had this sort of, again, thread of psychology interest. So I got into that, and then a couple of things, one thing led to another, and I worked in design, hospitality design, retail design, and because I had a master's degree and I had a young family at the time, working lots of different jobs. I was teaching at night, and that kind of formulated into more of a full-time teaching job, and then career in higher education. And I was the dean of a design and technology college for a little bit, and that's where I got my doctorate in education, curriculum instruction, adult education, and that's again where I had met Dr. T. And so things were kind of going along, and then actually um, there was a lot of sort of, I guess, change within the higher education system, like in 2015 area, and the school I worked for was a conglomerate of a bunch of different schools. They all closed, so then I had to kind of like figure out what I was going to do again. So I went back into design and worked in that for a few more years, and I always found though it was a pattern that I was like sort of the one that was developing people and um, and creating these like workshops in corporate America for like self-development or human potential or things like that. So I was inspired to kind of at least start the process of going back to school again. And I guess my first word was book, is what my mom tells me. So I'm
It's
clearly a
funny.
lifelong learner. Um, but I was thinking about going back to school and bringing everything together, like my background beginnings in psychology and design and art, so to become an art therapist and a mental health counselor. So I started that process, and just sort of like interestingly enough, I'm divorced, but I had been with a woman. Her name is Nicole for 7 years. I mean, we acted like we were married, so we call each other spouses. We wore rings and owned a home together and committed to each other and lived as spouses. And Christmas Eve 2019, she died by suicide. So in that moment, um, in sort of a kind of weird way, in that moment, I kind of knew that then this was really my calling, and I felt real deep confirmation in that moment to continue to go back to school for something in the mental health field. So I started my classes 15 days after she died. And again, on a program in art therapy and counseling. And so for the last 5 years, that's where I've been, you know, graduated in 2022. Takes a couple of years to get licensed. kind of went full speed ahead. And then just very grateful for um, the work that I'm doing now because it helps me kind of honor Nicole and her life as well as our experience and kind of my experience also finding her and just bringing together these 9 lives.
Oh my gosh.
What a journey. What a journey. Dr. Phil, what year did you earn your PhD?
2016.
2016. Okay. Okay. Yes, we're alma mater USF
Yeah.
Tampa. Yeah, yeah. What an amazing journey though, as far as just, tying everything. And it's amazing that your first book was your first word was book. My first word
Yeah.
was pillow. I don't know what that means, but like
Wait,
we
what
sleep
was it?
my life away. I don't know.
What was your first word?
Pillow, pillow.
Pillow. Oh, okay.
Yeah, my pillow. That was my first word. So it's
Yeah.
so fun. Yeah, wow. Shireen, I'm gonna turn it back over to you. But Shireen, do you know what your first word was?
I actually don't. I really don't.
Ah.
It's a very interesting question. There's a lot I can't remember from being a baby. But thank you so much.
Yeah, just maybe the first word does have to do with like how you sort of handle stress or cope through life. I don't know. It's something to
Yeah,
look into.
yeah, it's a very interesting. Yeah, because it's true. If I get stressed, I like my pillow. I like to
Yeah.
meditate, de-stress, relax, chill. So
Yeah. Okay.
there is something. Yeah, there is something about it. But no, your journey though, and we'll dive deeper into, your story with Nicole and how you've developed into the I always call it restorative artist because I just had you recently
Yeah.
at Miami-Dade College performing a workshop. So, but the art therapy side of things and really I guess it's the somatic release. Would you describe it like that? As far as, releasing emotions through art. Is that an
Yeah. Yeah. I would say, it's very, very holistically oriented. Yeah. The mind, the body, the emotions. Exactly.
Mm.
Yeah,
Well,
very nice. Very
first of all,
nice.
I want to say I'm so sorry to hear
Thank you.
about your partner, your not
Yeah.
just your
No.
friend, your
Yeah.
partner.
Yeah.
That must have been absolutely life-changing, which I can't imagine. But you know, this part of the podcast, we always do the quote of the month,
Mm.
and normally that's something that our guests will share with us and then tell us what it means to them. Listeners, Phil gave us his quote, and it
Mm.
says it ties together with his story of his friend and his partner that passed. He said, "Be the change that you wish to see in the world. Be the change that you wish to see in the world." Phil, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, I know. It means so many different things. One thing about it though, like at one point, um, that was actually Nicole's favorite quote. I believe it was her favorite quote because she had a poster made of it and to put in her office. And I remember kind of like helping her create the poster and was like, oh, all these quotes, they're so cliche. And I was like, kind of in that like mode during those years, and I don't know, I felt sort of like a little bit regretful actually for sort of saying that and kind of having a bit of that attitude towards, quotes in general and things like that. And so after she died, I actually cleaned out her office and brought that poster and that quote with me. And then now, a couple of years later, it's like it's kind of a focal point in my own office. So I feel like it's really helps me too in my healing process to kind of come back to some of these like simple truths, these little nuggets of wisdom that really are through quotes or quotes that become kind of cliches.
Mm,
And that one in particular really, resonates with me in the sense of personally how, you know, it's important for me to kind of be internal and to go in and um, to kind of we said words of responsibility before, right? To me, it has about a lot to do with about responsibility and calling
mm,
and giving back. and serving others. These are all major themes that I had seen in Nicole's own life, and then and clearly in my life as well. But now they just have such a deeper meaning,
Yeah.
And I believe Gandhi was the one who originated that quote, or or at least it became maybe popular by him, and just kind of looking towards these kind of historic figures as role models, and kind of his gentleness and his compassion for others, and kind of nonviolent perspective, and all of those kind of elements and themes sort
Mm.
of point to why I find that one of my favorite quotes.
Right.
Mhm.
Uh, Thank you, Phil. Would you say that the passing of Nicole was the decider to change your career and become a licensed mental health counselor? Um, was that the defining?
Yeah, I mean, I had little inklings before, and I had started the process of taking some prereq classes and things like that. But then, clearly, yeah, when with the passing of Nicole is what really just solidified and again
Mm,
confirmed that sort of change in my path.
yeah.
Tune in next week for part 2 from Friends from Wild Places.
You've been listening to Friends from Wild Places with Shireen Bueta. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast from the links to catch every episode and unleash your passion.